Om Boa Buva Suvaha. Om Boa Buva Suvaha. Tat Savito Varanyam. Tat Savito Varanyam. Bhago Devasya Dhimahi. Bhago Devasya Dhimahi. Diyo Yonat Prachodayata. Diyo Yonat Prachodayata. Together. Om Bhua Bhuva Suvaha. Tat Savito Varanyam. Bhago Devasya Dhimahi. Diyo Yonat Prachodayata. Om Bhua Bhuva Suvaha. Tat Savito Varanyam. Bhago Devasya Dhimahi. Diyo Yonat Prachodayata. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. May I offer my life to all beings everywhere. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace Peace. Bring your hands into Anjali Mudra, bow your head, offer your practice today to an animal being who made you happy, but not one you've eaten. Bring an animal into your mind's eye that is a friend that you, and visualize that being, holy being. Dedicate your practice to them. Namaste. Welcome everyone. So today I'm going to slightly shorten the asana sequence. We're on the backbending sequence today, so we're going to work on that. And then I'm going to probably leave about half an hour at the end of the class to work on the closing sequence. We'll probably look in more, well, we will look in more detail at Kapalabhati and Nadi Shodhana. So we get, because what happens with yoga teachers is you do the practice, and then at the end of the class you're always running out of time, especially if you're me. And so often the closing sequence gets cut a little bit short. So I want to today just sort of look at some of the aspects of it in a bit more detail. Okay, so we'll just begin. Come to the middle of your mat and stand in Tadasana. And I think we'll turn the infrareds off now, please. Nobody out there, Julius. Standing in Tadasana, sag yourselves a little bit on your mats. Come into your Ujjayi breath. And just focus on the breath, beginning in the pranasthana, returning to the pranasthana, the center of the chest. Try and squeeze your shoulder blades slightly towards each other. And then nudge the hips slightly forward, bring the back of the neck long and the chin slightly down. And then rest the gaze, center of the chest. As you inhale, raise the arms wide and overhead. Flip your palms. And as you exhale, lean to the right. Lift the chin, look straight ahead. And then inhale, come to center. And exhale, change. Move the hips out slightly as you lean. And inhale, center. Exhale to the right. Good. Look straight ahead. Take a short inhale and a long exhale. Do that twice, so 2 breaths. Stretch your top lung, open the left side of the spine. At the end of your second long exhale, a little pause and banders, and then you inhale the center and do the other side. Same thing, 2 breaths. Keep the gaze soft on the horizon line. We meet in Tadasana. Surya Namaskar, sun salutation. Inhale. Exhale, Anjali Mudra. Inhale, arms wide and overhead. Exhale, hips back, fold forward. Hands on the floor, bend the knees if you need to, relax the neck. Short inhale. Exhale, bend the knees, heels may rise, forehead towards knees. Empty the lungs, lower abdomen in. Short inhale into the upper back. Hold, hop or step, chaturanga. Or half chaturanga, knees down, core strong, legs strong. All the way to the floor, full prostration. Hands in prayer, and the feet are together too. And then hands back beside the chest, chaturanga, exhale, hold. Push the heels away from your skull. Inhale, upward facing dog, chin down. And exhale, downward facing dog. We're going to take a couple of breaths here. Short inhale. Long exhale. Look nabby, navel. And again, bend the knees a bit more, Ashley, and get more straight for your arms to your hips. You can lengthen your stance a bit. And exhale, hop or step forward, squat down, Uttanasana. Inhale, straighten your legs. And exhale, fold. Flip the palms, inhale, come up. And exhale, Tadasana. Same thing. Exhale, Anjali. Inhale. Exhale, strong Ujjayi as you fall. Or inhale. Exhale, squat down. So inhale. Hop or step chaturanga. Elbows in. Inhale, full prostration. Hands in prayer. Exhale, hands back, chaturanga. That's it, keep elbows in. Good. And inhale, upward facing dog. Keep. Exhale, downward facing dog. Look navel. Short inhale, double the length of the exhale, do a couple of breaths. And just work on very gently lengthening your spine. And as you lengthen your spine, lengthen your breath. Do one more breath. And get to the end of the next breath. Tuck the tummy in, look up, hold the breath, hop or step, squat down. Utkatasana. And then you'll find a little more air goes out of the lungs. Inhale, straighten the leg. And exhale, fold. Flip the palms, inhale, come on. Arch back a little bit at the top. And exhale, Tadasana. Turn to the side, down Tadasana. Inhale, raise the arm. Legs together at this point. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, don't move. Shoulder level. Did I say over the head? What's going on?
Twice.
Oh, yeah, okay. I got distracted, sorry. Inhale, okay, lower the arms. I was looking, I was thinking, surely they know what to do by now. Inhale, raise the arm, shoulder level. Exhale, hop or step, feet apart. Nice wide stance, Parivrtta. Feet turned out a little bit. Inhale, arch gently back. Open the chest. Exhale, fold forward. Bring the hands to the backs of the legs or to the heels. Good. And then inhale, come up, arch back, turn the palms up, open the chest. Look up if your balance is good. All the way up. And exhale, forward again. And then take the heels or take the backs of the legs, you choose. Inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. If your head's on the floor, bring your feet closer together. Relax your neck. Look nose tip, short inhale, long exhale. Breathe. Good. An option, if you need to, the hands can be on the floor. That's also fine. In line with your shoulders. Stop jiffling around, Sophie. Just stay still and breathe. Try not to hyperextend your legs, Sophie. Bend your knees a little bit. Good. Try and do it so you're relaxed. Relax. And if you're worried about your attachment, then just bend your knees. Don't struggle. And then flip your palms and then stretch the arms forward if you can, or bring the hands to the waist and inhale, come up. Arch back at the top. And exhale, hands to your waist. Good. Inhale there. Exhale fully. Hop or step, feet together. Turn to face front, stand Asana. Lead and return sequence. Inhale, arms widen overhead. Flip your palms. Exhale, palms face forward. Inhale, arch from the upper back. Keep your legs straight here. Exhale, fold forward. Short inhale. Exhale, Utkatasana. Inhale. Chaturanga Dandasana. Then straight to upward facing dog and lead and return. And exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Breath the fingers. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Draw the chin gently towards the chest. You don't want to force that. And rest the gaze in the nabby and the navel with the eyes closed. It's a straight line from the wrist to the sit bones. Make the exhales long. Optional banders at the end of the exhale. Lengthen your stance, Ashley. Move your hands forward 6 inches, Ashley. Bit more. Now look at your hands and get them even. This hand slightly in front of the other one. Get them in line. No, yeah, that's it. And now look at your navel. Bend your knees and that's it. Just stretch from your hands to your hips. Forget about everything else. Good. And then inhale, come forward to plank pose. And exhale, slowly lower through chaturanga to the floor. Keep your core strong, your legs strong. Let your breath be strong. Beautiful. And then hands back beside your hips. Turn the head to one side. Switch off Ujjayi breathing. Preparing for the backbending sequence. We start with Makrasana, crocodile, Vinyasas. So bring your forearms to the floor. Fingers just a bit in front of your shoulders, elbows in, hands in line with the shoulders if you can. Forehead on the floor. If you can't get your forehead on the floor, you've got to move your arms back more. That's it. Good. And then exhale there. Have your legs together. Good. And as you inhale, close your eyes, look third eye, lift the forehead, the nose, the chin, and the chest. Come up. And exhale slowly down. Just a very simple, easy movement. And then inhale, come up and pull on the forearms and the hands as you do it, as you ground the pelvis and the toenails, so you just feel your spine lengthen a little bit. And exhale, come down. Don't worry about coming up too high. Think more about the length in the spine. And then you're going to come up one more time. And you're going to hold. And then as you exhale, bend the knees and bring the heels towards the buttocks. As you inhale, straighten the legs and lift the chest. And exhale, bend the knees, heels towards the buttocks. And inhale, straighten the legs and pull the chest forward a little more. And exhale, bend the knees, heels towards the buttocks. And inhale, straighten. Lift a little bit higher, hold for one breath. The eyes closed and the eyes rolled up, third eye. Your legs are straight now. And then on the next exhale, slowly come down. Good. Move the hands back beside your chest and come into a low cobra. And then exhale, push the seat to the heels, knees together. Extended child's pose, take a breath. At the end of the long exhale in the child's pose, hold the breath out, suck the navel in. Uddiyana Bandha, just to stretch the lumbar spine. And turn the toes under, downward facing dog. Are you okay with all this, Caroline? Okay, just stop if you need to change it. And then inhale, come forward into plank pose. Exhale, knees down, chest down, chin down. Keep the hips up nice and high so that little lumbar curve counterposes the back bend. And then inhale to a low cobra. And exhale again, push the seat to the heels, long back, down dog, but go straight to down, go straight to down dog. And then inhale to plank pose, slow with breath. Core strong, legs strong, head in line with the spine, not hanging down. And then very slowly lower through chaturanga, all the way to the floor. Keep your legs strong all the way down so you don't, that's good. And then inhale, bring the right hand straight out in front of you and the left hand back beside your hip. And you can make a fist of the left hand, or I actually prefer to push the back of the hand into the floor flat. You choose. Keep the legs together. Forehead on the floor and exhale. Just the right hand forward. And as you inhale, lift the right hand and the left leg and stretch across your body. You can lift the head a bit if that's comfortable, or you can keep the forehead on the floor. And exhale down. A slow breathing, slow movement. And inhale up. Stretch. Exhale down. And then one more time, inhale up. And hold for a breath, exhale. Lift the head now, Matra, a bit. And inhale there. And exhale slowly down. And inhale, bring the right hand back beside your hip. Exhale, bring the left hand forward. And do exactly the same thing on the other side. Inhaling up, eyes are closed. Nose tip is where you're gazing. And exhale down. Do 3 of them, and then when next time, or 4th time you come up, I want you to hold full breath. And you want to feel the movement sort of starting in the center of the body, in the core, and extending out as you lift up. And if you just focus on extension, gradually you might get a bit higher, but that's not what you're worried about. And you breathe, try and keep your face relaxed in the posture. And then when you're ready, come down, bring both hands back beside your hips, turn the head the other way and rest quietly with no J. And then when you're ready, bring both hands over your head, legs together. And Marion said, apparently I called this Spider-Man pose, but it should be Superman pose. Forehead on the floor. And as you inhale, lift everything up. And exhale down. If it's too much with the arms over the head, bring the hands back beside your hips. Inhale, come up. And you're going to hold there for 3 breaths. Keep the hands apart, hidden. Yeah. And after the 3 breaths, exhale slowly down. That's very good. And bring the hands back beside the chest when you're ready. And inhale, low cobra. And then hold the low cobra and just bring the hands off the floor a bit. And ground your toenails and ground your pubic bone and just let your heart fall open. Breathe there. Put your hands back on the floor and very, very gently just use the hands to lift centimeter higher. That was 6 inches, Aoife. And then very slowly push the seat to the heels and go to downward facing dog. And then Vinyasa through. Inhale, come to plank pose. Exhale, knees, chest, chin down. And just hold that for a breath. Look nose tip. And at the end of the long exhale, just hold the breath out, suck the lower abdomen and lift the perineum. That movement frees the lumbar spine after back bending, that bandha. And then on the inhale, when you're ready, come forward to a low cobra again, just as high as you did before, so you're not forcing up. And then exhale, push the seat to the heels, long back, downward facing dog. And take a full breath in, down dog. And then when you're ready, hop or step forward and squat down in Utkatasana. Inhale, straighten the legs. And exhale, fold over the legs. Flip the palms, inhale, come up. And exhale, arms wide and down, Tadasana. Lead and return. Inhale, arms wide and overhead, flip your palms. Exhale, palms face forward. Inhale, arch from the upper back. And exhale, fold. Short inhale. Exhale, Uttanasana. Have your hands on the floor, close to your feet as you can. Bend the knees, go down, Catherine, Chris. And then short inhale. Hop or step back, Chaturanga Dandasana. And just resist and hold whether your knees are down or not. And then slowly inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. And take a breath, short inhale. Long exhale. Look slightly forward, soften the knees, hop onto your shins. Bring the hands onto the knees, sit in Vajrasana. Thunderbolt pose, hands on the knees, chest up, chin down, eyes closed, look throat pit. Ujjayi breathing. And rest there with Ujjayi. Chin down a bit, Jose, back of the neck long. Gaze into the throat pit. Relax. You need to put, you want to put a block under you, get under your heels and stuff, Andy. Make yourself comfortable. Yeah, because we're going to be here for a little while, so just change it to cross-legged if you need to. And then as you inhale, bring the arms widen overhead, sit up on the knees and interlock your fingers. As you exhale, sit down and bring the thumbs to the back of the neck. Fully empty your lungs. And inhale, sit up on the knees, push the hands to the ceiling, stretch a little more. And then as you exhale, sit down, bring the thumbs to the back of your neck and keep exhaling this time. Keep exhaling till your lungs are empty. Chin to sternum, perineum lifts, lower abdomen floats in and up, just like you do in Tataka Mudra. Just hold that breath out with bandhas, and when you're ready, release the bandhas. And inhale, sit up and push the hands to the ceiling. Okay, got too much on your knees. You want a blanket? Yeah. And then as you exhale, bring the hands to the small of your back. And then inhale there. And as you exhale, go to the end of the breath, lift the perineum, draw the lower abdomen in, and keep those bandhas. And then as you inhale, arch back. Hands flat on the back here. Exhale, come up. Chin down. Inhale, arch back, lift and open the rib cage. Head can go back if you feel comfortable. Hips go forward, thighs go forward. Exhale, come up. And now you have the option of turning the toes under and going for the heels, or the hands to the soles of the feet, or keep the hands where they are on the back. You choose. On the next inhale, arch back. Lift the chest first, move the thighs forward, push the hips forward and drop the head back only if it feels comfortable. And you're going to be there for 3 breaths. Move the hips forward as much as you can. Breathe deep into the heart on the inhale, shorter exhale. Keep the nose tip as your drishti, with the eyes closed, or your mama. After your 3 breaths, on an exhale, slowly come up. And on an inhale, bring your hands up over your head. And as you exhale, bring the seat to your heels and the hands to the floor in front of you in extended child's pose. And take 3 breaths with short inhales and long exhales with bandhas to release your back. Relax your shoulders. And after your 3 breaths, flip your palms and inhale, come up, sit up, keep the buttocks on the heels, and exhale, twist to the right. And bring the right hand round behind your back, and if you can, hook it over your left thigh. And bring your left hand to the outside of your right knee. Inhale, lift your chest. If there's too much for your knees, any person, any time, just come into a cross-legged position. Keep your chin slightly down, and exhale, twist to the right. So one of the things you can do here, like it's if your hand isn't all the way around your back holding your thigh, but it's just halfway, you can keep the hand around your back, or you can just reach down and hold your foot in some way to kind of give you that little bit of leverage. So it's an inhale, and then it's an exhale, twist to the right and look over your right shoulder. And then close your eyes and turn your head and look at your left knee without letting the torso twist back to the left. Look gently down at your left knee. Now 3 breaths here. Short inhales, long exhales, optional pause or banders at the end of each breath in which the twist deepens. So it's going to go that way when it goes, so keep your hand that way. So all right, twisted like that? After you've done your 3 breaths, you can turn to the center and bring the arms over your head. And then you can exhale and do the other side. When you're set up, just very gently turn your head, look down at your right knee, and try to feel that spiraling motion in your spine, especially at the end of each breath. Gaze is softly down. Good. Eventually is done in 1.5 lotus. And when you've done your 3 breaths, inhale, come back to center, arms over the head. Beautiful. And then as you exhale, don't rush. If you're still in your pattern of breathing, you just join in when you're ready. Bring the hands to the floor in front of your knees. And then lift the seat off the heels and hop or step back to Chaturanga. And then move for a full vinyasa, up dog, down dog, Utkatasana, squat, forward bend, inhale, stand up, exhale, Tadasana. We'll meet in Tadasana. Eyes closed, gaze in the heart, Ujjayi breathing. Inhale, bend the right knee to your chest. Exhale, turn the knee out, bring the foot to the other thigh, or bring the foot to the calf, or to the ankle, whatever you can manage. On the inhale, bring the arms over your head, flip your palms and lift. Then gently press the palms together. Gaze at something on the floor that won't move. Om Bhua Bhuva Suvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonat Prachodayata. Om. Prayer to the heart. Inhale, knee forward, extend the leg. Exhale, Tadasana. Do the same thing on the other side. Steady your breath. Om Bhua Bhuva Suvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonat Prachodayata. Om. Prayer to the heart. Inhale, knee forward, extend the leg. Exhale, Tadasana. Inhale, raise the arms to shoulder level in front of you with the palms down. Chin down, look navel, exhale, squat. All the way down, as far as you can, heels may rise. Separate your knees, sit down, Dandasana. Hands beside the hips. Inhale, bring the arms over the head. And exhale, don't move. Inhale, round the back, slowly come down, one vertebra at a time, arms over the head. And exhale, hands beside the hips. And we'll take a little Shavasana here. Bring your feet a little bit wider than your hips, your arms away from your body. Bring your palms up. And take rest. Awareness in the pranasthana. Wherever your mind's gone, see if you can just gently bring it back to the place where the breath begins in the center of the chest and the place where the breath returns. Not just a centering device for the prana, it's also a centering device for the mind, because that's also the place where you can put your mind in meditation. Om. Feet together, arms by your side. Inhale, bring your arms over your head. And flip your palms, feet are together now. And exhale completely, separate the palms. Hold the breath out, draw the navel in, sit up, fold over the leg. And take the big toes. Okay. And everybody sit up. I think we'll do your variation, Caroline. No, can I use your mat a second? Okay, so this is in the Vinyasa, the traditional Vinyasa, Krama Vinyasa. When you do this, you bring the arms up over the head, laying on the floor, separate the hands, fully exhale, suck the lower abdomen up, engage the legs, and then you just sit up and fold forward. And that's okay for some people, but it's more difficult for other people. It's particularly difficult if you've got any lower back issues. And it can be, if a few of you, like I noticed, if you sit up and you're having to jerk to pull yourself up, then you don't want to be doing that. So there's different ways. I'll show you another way to do it. And also you'll find it's a little more challenging the longer you've spent flat on your back. So after Tataka Mudra, where you've been laying there for some time, most we usually do is Tataka Mudra for 3 breaths, but you could do it for 6 breaths. You've been on the floor for quite a while then, up to, sometimes you can be there for up to 10 minutes. And then when you do it after that, for some people it's okay. For a lot of people, it's just kind of a bit of a strain. So the way to get up, if you find it a bit of a strain, is to bend your knees. So, and just use a little bit of momentum. So if I have my arms over my head and then I fully exhale, I draw the tummy in, I'm still using my core. But as I come up, instead of just being flat like this, I just bend the knees a bit and I use the momentum of the legs to pull me up. Really simple. Yeah. And then as you get used to that, you gradually bend the knees less. Okay, so that's just really simple action. So you just start here, you stretch, that's an inhale. And then with the palms flat, it's a full exhale. And now I'm sort of doing almost like Tataka Mudra. I'm holding the breath out. And then if you're really strong, you can keep the arms over the head. But if you're struggling with it, bring the hands more to here. And as you do that, just come up like that. And it just takes all the pressure out of it, yeah? Okay. And there's 3 vinyasas traditionally. Sometimes we just do one, depends how the time's going. But the first vinyasa is to come down and take the big toes. The second vinyasa is to come down and put the hands over the tops of the feet. And the third vinyasa is to come down and put the hands around the outside of the feet. And these are the 3 classic hand holds for Paschimottanasana, double-legged forward bend. And then you will do it. But the last time you come down, you choose one of those options depending on what you're working on. And if you're doing a long Paschimottanasana, which is the double-legged forward bend, you can just stay there with one hand hold, or you can, say you're staying for 12 breaths, you can do 4 breaths, the big toes come up into Niralamba, arms over the head Dandasana, and then you go down, the second 4 breaths, you put the hands over the top of the feet, and then you can come up, and you go down again, you can do 4 breaths for the holding the outside of the feet. So if you're struggling to kind of hold Paschimottanasana for a long time, for whatever reason, that can be a way of easing the practice, where you come in and out and you do 3 vinyasas within the 12 breath count, for example. Does this make sense? Okay, let's do it. Come onto your back. And we'll all do the bent knee variation, so you just know how to do it. Because everybody gets a bad back now and again. And then inhale, bring the arms up over the head, and flip your palms. Keep your legs strong. And exhale fully. Go to the end of the breath, hold the lower abdomen in. And then bring the arms over, bend the knees a little bit, and rock up. Use the momentum of the legs to help you sit up. Take the big toes with the first 2 fingers. Bend the knees if you need to. Inhale, release and come up and roll all the way down. You can keep the hands more in front of you. That's a bit easier. And then when you get down, arms over the head. And then fully exhale. Palms separate, bend the knees, rock up. Take the tops of the feet, fingers point towards the heels. And then come up. Inhale all the way down onto your back. The hands can be forward or over your head, depending on your strength. And then fully exhale, separate the palms, bend the knees, rock up again. Take the outsides of the feet. Good. And then before you take the posture, interlock fingers, come up just halfway, arms over the head. And then exhale, bring the hands wide and down. So you can come back into Dandasana, or you could have folded forward there. And then inhale, bring the arms over the head. Lift, lift, lift. Keep your chin down. And exhale, fold forward. And take your Paschimottanasana. Take any hand variation of those 3. I'm going to stay here for 6 breaths. Short inhales, long exhales, eyes closed, look nabby, navel. You count the Om numbers until you get used to regulating that breath. Keep your face, jaw, tongue, eyes completely relaxed. And by the time you've done those vinyasas, you're kind of like, you're more ready. The idea of the vinyasas is to prepare the body for the pose. And when you're really comfortable in the posture, and you're relaxed, you can try and add on that murunudi, those bandhas at the end of the breath, and you can be holding the breath out for 5 seconds, count of 5 at the end of the breath. But there shouldn't be any strain, and you remember to release the bandhas before you inhale again. You're not holding the bandhas all the time. They switch on, they switch off. Okay. You all right? Good. Just rest as much as you need. You can also really bend the knees so you're more relaxed if you want. Yeah, sit on a block, bend your knees. Make it easy. Make it easy. Enough stress in life. And then flip your palms and inhale and come up. And then exhale, go down and take a different handhold. No, inhale, come up. So several people did that. I don't really know why. When you go down and you're doing the posture again, your hands go straight forward. They don't go out to the side. I think they were copying you. So inhale, come up and lift up. And when you're going back into Paschimottanasana, you just separate the palms and they go forward like you did in the Vinyasa. That's the one. Take a different handhold. Take 3 breaths. See, none of this would happen if you kept your eyes closed all the time, which is what you're aiming for. Oh, another good variation for you would be to do reverse prayer. You can always do that, or even yeah. And when you're ready, flip the palms and inhale, come on. Good. And exhale, bring the hands behind you 10 inches. And you can have the fingers forward, or if you want to change the rotation in the shoulders, you can turn the hands back. You can vary that. Point the toes or bend the knees for tabletop, and inhale, come up. Squeeze the shoulder blades, drop the head back. Good. And exhale, keep the toes nice and long. And exhale, come down. And then inhale, keep the legs together. Come up again. And the head can go back. As the shoulder blade squeeze, we're going to hold. Exhale there. Nudge the hips a little bit higher. Inhale. Good. And exhale slowly down. Okay, we're getting there. Cross the ankles, put the hands on the floor, and hop or step back, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. And then at the end of the exhale, hop onto your shins. Good. Measure the elbows with the knuckles around the outside of the arms. Bring the elbows to the floor. All the stuff that we worked on last week in great detail. You can try and remember that now. And if you didn't see it, go to the WhatsApp group and look at the little tutorial on headstand preparation. And you want to be about halfway down your mat, not right at the front of your mat. Okay, and we're going to do dolphin. Open the hands, interlock the fingers, wrists vertical, palms vertical, turn the toes under, lift the hips up, gaze slightly forward. Strong legs, strong core, lower abdomen sucked in. Exhale forward, inhale back. If it's too much for you, do it with your knees on the floor. Chris, bring your elbows closer together. Elbows no wider than your shoulders. Try and move at a reasonable rhythm with a strong breath. Interlock your fingers, Nicole. So you've got a strong base. Really push your forearms down. Keep your legs and your core strong. And every time your elbows move out, move them back in again. Don't let your elbows go wide. It's tough. Do as many as you can and do one more for someone you love. And then rest in child's pose. After 3 breaths in child's pose, put the hands beside the hips when you rest. after that, Aoife, because it just relaxes your shoulders more. You want your shoulders to just hang. And then do one more round. Same number as you did last time, and add on one more for someone you love. And then when you've done, rest in child's pose. Keep your legs strong, actually. If your legs go weak, it gets harder. Good, Marta. Good, very good. Don't kill yourself. Aoife, watch those elbows. Okay, and then rest in child's pose. If you do a lot of that, sometimes your elbows can get sore. So you want to fold the front part of your mat in half and give yourself a bit more padding. But hopefully, if you work up to 3 rounds of 15 and practicing every day, it won't take you too long, and it'll save your elbows. And then inhale, sit up for half headstand. Measure the elbows with the knuckles around the outside of the arms. And remember, you can do this without any weight in your neck. Open your hands and interlock your fingers. And now the hand position gets crucial. The wrists are vertical. The palms are vertical. The lower finger webs are slightly open. The upper finger webs are completely closed. The thumbs are touching and in a vertical position. And the hands are the shape of the back of your round head. And then bring the head to the floor between the forehead and the crown, the bregma, and just touch the vertical thumbs, Charlotte. Don't push your head into your hands. And so there's a little bit of space between the back of your head and your hands, and then release the thumbs down. And then turn the toes under. Bring your elbows in, Catherine. And lift your hips up. Good. And as you walk in, lift your shoulders away from the floor, push your forearms down, and do your best to take the weight out of your neck. And you're going to hold there for 5 breaths, even if you can do a full headstand. Just work at pushing into the floor and lifting your head very slightly, just a millimeter off the floor. So I can come round and just slide a piece of paper under your head. That's your practice today. Keep the breath smooth and the face relaxed and the core strong. If that's too much for you, keep doing dolphin. And then when you're done, slowly come down, rest in child's pose. Okay. You get, is it all slippy? Yeah, so I'll show you what to do at the end. I think it'd be good for you to strap your elbows. Okay. Rest in child's pose. And then when you're ready, sit up, come onto your back and relax in Shavasana. It's going to be a short relaxation. Lift your head. I'll put the infrareds on, 'cause it's a bit chilly. I think we're heading towards another sharp frost. Onto your back and relax. Switch off your Ujjayi breathing and rest your awareness in the pranasthana. Completely relax. Oh. Deepen your breath. Bring your feet together and your arms by your sides. Inhale, stretch your arms over your head. Left side long, right side long, and then stretch your whole body long. Bend your knees, hug your knees, lift your forehead gently towards your knees, release your back. And when you're ready, roll to the side, come into seated position. Okay, we're going to do a little segment on Kapalabhati. So everybody come to the front 2 rows. If you're on the front 2 rows, can you spin your mat sideways so people can share your mats and we'll all sit together? You bring your blocks so you can sit up for pranayama. Or you can just sit anywhere you like. Make sure you have support. Or you can just drag your mat with you, but come forward to the front. I don't mind how you do it. There'll be detail that you can't see if you're too far away, so I need you all close. Okay, so we're going to start with the fundamentals of how to sit for pranayama and meditation. And we're going to, so for cross-legged position, so just sit and bring your legs out like this. Okay, bend the right knee in. Bring the fingers to the back of the calf flesh. So you're holding the calf flesh. And then rotate the calf flesh internally. And then pull the knee back and close the knee joint so the calf flesh is on the inside. and then hold the ankle with one hand so the knee stays closed. Pick the foot up and hold the bottom of the foot with the other hand. And then just keeping the knee closed, rotate the shin bone down. So the hip joint rotates forward and the shin goes towards the floor. You've got to sit up, Nicole. You need to have a bit, if you're sitting on the floor and you're kind of like, your knees, when you sit on the floor, are higher than your hips, and you've got to sit on something. Otherwise, it's never going to happen. You won't be able to open your hips. Okay? I'm not asking you to sit in half lotus or anything. I'm just asking for this position. If it's available to you, just do what you can. If it isn't, then we stay in kneeling position. So the femur's now rotated internally. The shin bone is rotated internally and down, and the sole of the foot's in this sort of position. The sole of the foot's up. It's not this. This is a very bad way to sit for any sort of pranayama or meditation, called sukhasana, which means easy pose, but it's far from easy because it makes your back ache. You need to get the hips rotated forward. You can't do that in sukhasana. So, okay, so then you do that same thing with the other leg. Bend the knee halfway, turn the calf flesh inwards, squeeze the knee joint closed. Now it stays closed, just like you would take it into lotus. And then bring the foot under. I like to hold the ankle as well, so it's really braced. Draw it in as much as you comfortably can. And then it's just a case, if you think about just rotating your shin bone down, the sole of your foot up, you end up in this kind of position. Maybe. Don't put it on top of the other leg, put it in front of the leg. So the feet are in front of each other. Yeah? And then even if one knee is up a little bit, gradually the hips are allowed to open. Whereas if your feet are under one another or they're on top of each other, the other leg will hold the hip, it will hold the position. So you never, then your hips don't open. Does that make sense? So this is the way to sit initially until your hips are really open, because the knees can always go down. Does that make sense? And this is how you want to sit in the beginning for pranayama and cultivate this position. Use it at home when you're watching TV, eating, doing your book work, whatever you're doing. Sit like this on the floor and work at a low table. Sorry? Coming up? No. You're trying to, the heels are up, so your feet are in this position. But it has to come from the hip. Yeah, you do the best you can. But the movement has to come from the hip. The hip knee's not rotating because you've closed it, and the sole of the foot comes up. I mean, because I've been doing this a long time, it's easy for me to sit like this and sit in those other sort of things. But this is what you want to cultivate, if you can. And if that doesn't work for you, you stay in this type of kneeling position with blocks under your seat. But if you are sitting on blocks, unless you've got a knee condition and you're kneeling, then you gradually over time want to keep reducing the height of those blocks, because that's very good for your knees. And eventually it lengthens the adductors, which allows you to sit more comfortably cross-legged. So any prop is it's something which should be gradually over time diminished if possible. Is that clear? And anyone who's sitting cross-legged, maybe Charlotte's the exception in this class, Sophie, but I would say everybody, and even Charlotte and Sophie, who are very open in their hips, I would still recommend they sit on a cushion. So, Aoife, those people you can just sit on the floor, but I will tell you now, if you're spending long periods of time in meditation, doing long pranayama, just that little bit of tilt in the pelvis and the front edge of the sit bones being more revealed to a base will make a big difference long term to your, it's not just about your posture, it's just about a freedom of the muscles around the spine, so the muscles around the spine don't have to contract, they can relax, and that allows the prana, the channels of the energy in the spine, to be more free. As contraction comes into the back, it stops the flow of energy in the spine, which is why really important. That's what you're doing in pranayama meditation. Does that make sense? So anyway, I'll go on.
Question. When I try this, I always end up with one leg suspended in midair, and I'm finding I'm having to lean over to balance myself.
Yeah, yeah, that's common because hardly anybody's even in the hips. So what you do is yeah, that raises a good point. So if you're doing that and you find that one knee, whatever you do, is always a little bit up, there's two things about that. The first thing is you always change legs. So I did it just then with the right foot in first, but the next time you sit, you do it with the left foot in first. Otherwise, you set up an imbalance in your hips. And you'll find usually that the foot that if you've got a knee that's higher, when you bring that foot in first, the knee will be able to go a bit lower. And so you'd cultivate that side more by bringing that foot in first for a period of time and see if it evens your hips out a bit. Now, the other thing you can do if there's is just sort of support the knees slightly with ideally a cushion or a blanket so that you can, if it's uncomfortable and it's tipping you, if the knee's supported, you'll be more stable. And then over time, you gradually start to reduce the height of that thing. If you use a solid block, you can never reduce the height unless you're going to get a saw out and cut a bit off it, which can be done. Does that make sense? So this is the principle. Traditionally, they would say you get a big old fat book and every day you tear a page out. Like they used to say, teachers always used to say, use an old telephone directory. Just keep tearing pages out till you're sitting on the cover. Does that make sense? So it's that principle you want to think about. Blocks are good, they serve a purpose, but they also are a restriction if you just use the same height all the time for everything. Anyway, I think I was going to talk about Kapalabhati, wasn't I? Yeah, do you want to know about Kapalabhati? Can you turn that infrared off, please? Okay, so the first thing about Kapalabhati is just raise your hand if you feel really confident and comfortable in Kapalabhati. Okay, so about half of you. So Kapalabhati is in the pranayama sequence here. This sequence is what we're talking about. So this is used as closing sequence for the practice. And of course, there's many different pranayamas you can use, but we do Nadi Shodhana here. I'll explain why in a minute. And this can be done, ideally it's done at the end of the asana practice because there's a system. So the asana practice, it starts here and you do asana first. When you do asana, you're working, you know what you're doing. You're working with the breath, you're working with the energy, you're loosening the body up, you're preparing the body for sitting, all those kind of things. And then at the end of the practice, you do the mudras. So the mudras are Paschimottanasana, which we did today, and then shoulder stand and headstand, which we're working on. You can do either or both. And then you have a short relaxation, it's normal pattern that we do in the class, and then you go into pranayama. But you can also do pranayama, this sequence as a standalone sequence. For example, in my practice, I practice this sort of thing in the morning with a lot of chanting, meditation, pranayama, and I practice my asana in the evening. So I have 2 sessions of practice a day. That suits me. Why not suit you? But you can just use this as a little practice in itself if you want to. A very beautiful little practice. And especially, if you're not got time or you haven't got time, or maybe you're tired and you want to do a more little just simple energizing practice, this is a good thing to do. Now, the first part of the practice is called Kapalabhati. I'm not going to go into the technicalities of why, because I've already spent 15 minutes talking about how to sit on the floor. So, which wasn't the plan. Yeah. Kapalabhati is Kriya, but it's always usually included, which means a cleansing practice, but it's usually included with pranayama because you do it with your breath. So why is Kapalabhati there? It's there because of the way it prepares the lungs for pranayama. So Kapalabhati, what it does is it kind of activates the breathing system more strongly and it purifies, cleanses the lungs ready for pranayama. That's why it's there. And that's why it's a cleansing practice, a kriya, really. So in Vinyasa Krama, there's this very unique thing, which isn't in any other system of yoga that I've ever come across. where you do these different hand variations. So the first time you do Kapalabhati, you do it like this. And there's two options here, just so that you know. The first one is Chin Mudra. You try in Kapalabhati to have your arms straight, not this. The arms are straight, and then the chest pushes up between the shoulders. Very important. So what you do when you do that, if you just do it with me, you want to lift the chest up between the shoulders, and so you can feel the length in your lower back and the length in your abdomen, okay? That position of the body is really important because Kapalabhati is a practice where you're exercising the diaphragm. And the moment the back goes into this position and it starts to round and the rib cage starts to collapse down, it compresses the area where you want the diaphragm to play. Does that make sense? So this is really important. I want to get these fundamentals right. So chest up, shoulders back and down, shoulder blades squeeze slightly towards each other. And so if the arms are straight, for some reason, that just sort of helps you to drop the shoulders and lift the chest. You can do it with the hands up, or you can do it with the palms down. And if your arms are the appropriate length in comparison with your legs, it depends how you're made, you can have the index finger to the thumb, cup the knees, and you can just use a little bit of pressure on your fingers to get your chest up. Do you feel that? You know what I mean? So that can be helpful if you're finding it difficult to keep the chest open in the Kapalabhati. With me so far? That posture, the chest always has to be lifted in Kapalabhati. Crucial. And then the next thing that happens when the chest lifts is the head goes slightly back. You're doing this with me. And then the eyes close, and just by drawing the chin back, the chin comes slightly down and the gaze drops into nabi, navel, which is like center of body behind your belly button. And that's almost like, then when Kapalabhati happens, it's almost like there's a bit of string attached to your belly button, and it's like someone's got it behind you, like a little puppet coming out through the back of the body, and somebody's going like that on the, it's like that point where you put your gaze is where you're activating the muscles to do Kapalabhati. So that if you put the gaze there, it gets a lot easier. And this is how it works. Chest up, head slightly back. It's important that the head just doesn't drop because it collapses the chest and it disconnects the hyoid bone to the transverse abdominis. If you just let the chest drop when you bring the head down and the rib cage drops, it compresses this area, but it also loses the connection to the transverse abdominis, which happens when you move the head back and bring the chin down, the back of the neck lengthens. It's called the hyoid here. When that's engaged, you've got more connection to the transverse abdominis, which you use in Kapalabhati. So these little details are going to make a big difference. It's like that, head back, chin down, eyes closed, I'm looking here. It's a short inhale when you do Kapalabhati, when you're going to start, because you have to be able to expel all the air in the first exhalation. If I take a big inhale, which is often an instruction that people give, and I fill my lungs up, and then I do this, I've still got now loads of residual air in my lungs. You don't want residual air in your lungs in Kapalabhati. You want the lungs to be empty from the first expulsion. Otherwise, you're going to build a lot of pressure and tension. So the first inhale before Kapalabhati begins is a little short inhale that you can expel completely in the first breath. So it works like this. I'll put one hand here. This is what you're going to do if you're a beginner. You just exhale, lower abdomen towards the spine, thumbs in the navel, fingers below. Then it's a little short inhale, and then release. Don't do it. Watch. Release. 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 Now, there's something that's happening there that you might not be noticing. When I exhale, I'm just exhaling. And when I inhale, I'm not inhaling. What I'm doing is I'm just releasing the abdominal wall. And so when I exhale, the diaphragm goes, whoo. And when I release the abdominal wall, the diaphragm goes, whoo. And that takes twice as long as that. So the ratio of the diaphragm dropping down, the air going back into the lungs is at least twice as long as the expulsion. Now that is the definition of Kapalabhati. This is what I often see. That's even. Are you with me? That's an even ratio. That's not Kapalabhati. That is a very mild Bhastrika with a different pranayama. So it's this. Just look for the difference. Two to one. You have to really focus, and you're going to have to really focus for yourself to make sure that you don't go, because what you do then is you override the action of the diaphragm, and you'll do it just by puffing the air more higher up in the lungs. Okay, you with me? So you've got to think about that. And if you're not sure at the beginning, you go even slower. You do this. Now, it might sound like I'm breathing in, but I'm not. That's just the air, the natural air going back in the lungs as I release the abdomen. Okay, let's do some together. And you can put your hand here if you're not used to it. If you are, doesn't matter. Lift the chest, drop the shoulders, head back, eyes closed, look nabby navel. Take a short inhale, make the lower abdomen rise, and then snap it. Release, 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 hex, 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 release. That's good. Stop. Okay, that's pretty good. You've got it. Most of you have got it. The thing to avoid also is wobbling. I'm exaggerating. And things going on in the face. That everything's passive. Okay, the only thing that's actually moving is here. There shouldn't be any movement in the body. Body's just still. Face completely passive. So all these little details are things I want you to work on this week. Do your Kapalabhati every day. Very powerful. Try and do it on an empty stomach. That's a fantastic practice when you do it first thing in the morning. Really good. So, and then the other thing that about this. So I'm doing it like this, and my chest is lifted. That's great. Room for my abdomen. But watch what happens when I do this. Watch my chest. The difference? Even if I keep my chest lifted, when I bring my arms down, my chest has to drop. Yeah? So just do that with me. But keep your gaze on your chest. Lift your chest first, and then inhale. And lift, stretch. See what happens to your chest. And feel what happens to your lower back and your lower abdomen, your abdomen. Can you feel the space? Now keep that lift and gently bring the chin down, look into your navel. And take a short inhale. Hex, release. Hex, release. Keep lifting. Hex, release. Hex, release. Do 3 more. Push your hands hard up to the ceiling. Keep stretching. Okay, and then exhale, lower your arms. What do you notice? Is it, yeah? Pardon? Anybody else find that? Anybody find it harder? It's harder, isn't it? It's harder to do, but it's more powerful when you do it, when you get it. So what's happening when I do this? It looks, okay, my chest, but I'm stretching my lung tissue. My lungs are attached to my rib cage, are they not? So when I do this and I lift up, my lung tissue is not as pliable as it was when I was in this position because it's stretched. And so what that's doing is exposing the sort of bronchi, the alveoli of the lungs, to the passage of air. It's kind of like there's more of an exchange of gases in the lungs. There's more of a stretch to the lung tissue. And so the Kapalabhati is more powerful. But because of the stretch, there's less actual movement in the rib cage, but there's more space for the diaphragm to move. So when you get it, you can get a more powerful Kapalabhati. Because when I do this space for the diaphragm to move in, although there's a little bit kind of more tension, there's more because of the muscles that are stretched around it and the connective tissue, there's a little bit more restriction in it. When you practice it a lot, the Kapalabhati, the whole thing becomes more powerful. And stretching the lung tissue is really, really important for the health of your lungs, your internal organs. And it's affecting not just your lungs, but it's affecting the other internal organs in the abdominal cavity. It has quite a strong effect on the heart, which I'm not going to get into the detail, but all these things are happening in Kapalabhati. And then there's one more, isn't there? Vinyasa. So this is the first one. And then just do this with me. Make sure your chest stays up. And then without dropping your chest, bend your elbows and bring your hands down to your opposite shoulder blade, which draws your chin closer to your chest. And then do a little short inhale. Hex, release, release, hex, release, hex. Do that a few times. Your elbows back. And then inhale, push your hands to the ceiling, stretch your lungs again. And exhale, lower your arms. Okay, what feels different there? Anything? Okay. So what you'll find is, when you get used to it, that when you do that, you'll feel there's more kind of action, not movement, but you feel the air more in your upper lungs and your back. You'll feel it more in the back of your lungs. So these different hand positions are moving the breath around your lungs in Kapalabhati. That's the message I'm trying to get to you. And so this is the way I'd like you to practice your Kapalabhati. That's why there's these 3 vinyasas. And also, does this remind you of anything? The Hasta Vinyasas. Okay? So, Hasta Vinyasas. And there's all these different ones that we do in the Hasta Vinyasas. Okay? They're all, what are those Hasta Vinyasas doing that you do at the beginning of the class? They're stretching your lungs. Releasing your shoulders, doing your wrists, doing your elbows, etc. But the predominant, most important thing almost that they're doing is they're stretching your lung tissue and activating your breath for the practice. And then at the end, you come back into a similar pattern. There's lots of things in yoga where the pattern gets repeated at different points throughout the practice for sort of like for a deepening kind of mechanism. And this is what you're doing at the end there is a mirror of what you're doing at the beginning. And then you go into the more subtle part of the practice, which is the pranayama and the meditation. Does that make sense? Okay. So that is what I wanted to tell you about Kapalabhati, and Nadi Shadana will have to wait till another day. Any questions? Okay, so one final.
do the preposition of the hands.
Yeah. Ideally, yeah, if you've got time, if you've only got, I'll tell you what I do. Yeah, if I'm sort of doing a shorter practice and I'm just going to do one, I just do this one. I start there because I can feel my lungs are much more stretched and there's more room. I don't know how, it's like the diaphragm has more room to work. You can feel the diaphragm work better. This for me is a better position for Kapalabhati than this is, even though I did it like this for 20 years. And, also, okay, it brings up another really interesting point. So when you do Kapalabhati like this, traditionally in India, the way they'll teach it is you do the Kapalabhati like a little more gently and you work up to doing rounds of 108. So you do 108 in a round, 108 times, and you do minimum of 3 rounds. That takes quite a long time. And it's and so, yeah, I did that for years. Every morning I would get up and do 3 rounds of 108 Kapalabhati, sometimes more. But if you do this and you do 3 rounds of 36 and this, that's 108. That's why the standard count when you're comfortable with it is 3 rounds of 36. But you want to start with 3 rounds of 12, build up to 24, and then go to 36. But so you do 108 overall, still that magic number, and you do that in the 3 hand positions, and you'll find with this, it's actually more powerful than doing 3 rounds of 108, but in just a basic position. Does that make sense? Huh?
1, 2, 3, 4. How do you count? I just lose count every time.
How do you what, sorry?
How do you count? I lose count every time.
How do you count it? What? On, you go. How do you count your 108? You count your fingers. Oh, when you're doing, you just count it in your head. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, you're only doing 36. You can count 36. Yeah, but when you're doing bigger counts with Kapalabhati, you count on you digitally count. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You do 12, and then you just multiply it up in your head. Or you do it on this hand. You do 12, and when you get to 12, this is the way you traditionally do it when you're doing your hands like this. You count on this hand digitally 12, and then every time you get to 12, you do one flange with the finger. So that's 12, that's 24, that's 36. They do it like that. And you see people count like that in the market in India. That's their calculator.
How do you do that? I don't.
It's another subject. I can show you. There's different techniques. You can go around the hand, or you count the flanges of the fingers.
Yeah.
That's 12 ohms, and I didn't use any numbers.
Yeah.
You'll find lots of ancient cultures count like that. Okay. Now that's it. We've got to close because I have some messages to give you. I think they're called announcements. But when you're doing your practice at home, last thing I'm going to say, it's like, if you've got 30 minutes and you're going to do a yoga practice, don't do just 30 minutes of asana. Do 20 minutes of asana and do 10 minutes of this stuff. Or 15 minutes of asana and do 15 minutes of this, depending on how you feel. Keep making this something that balances out your practice, your nervous system, and your prana. And the goal of yoga practice is stilling the mind, meditation. And if you don't ever do any of this, you'll find it very hard to do meditation.